Hello, my name is Mark Wolf. I'll be the instructor for this class, IST 538, Fundamentals of XML. This is the spring semester of 2018, and it's a fully online class, but you will get to see videos and hear videos from me. You'll be hearing much more on my voice than you will be seeing my face, but I thought it's nice to at least see me once before the course commences. This is a technology-heavy course. We're going to be learning about computer technology, so I thought a good way for us all to learn about each other might be our first introduction to computers, and I'll tell you about mine. My first computer was a Commodore 64, and perhaps some of you have heard of one. Maybe some of you have never heard of it, but if you go online you can look it up. Commodore is a company that's no longer in business anymore, but they were cutting edge, I'd say 1985. That was when I got my Commodore 64. It had a whopping 64K, not 64 megs, not 64 gigs, not terabytes, kilobytes. So it was a very weak computer by today's standards, but at the time it was a great personal computer to have. I did some programming on it, not a lot, I did a little, but played a lot of games and used it for some other things. You know, just to have fun and learn about computers. Had a disk drive and a tape drive, but I had no access to the internet. I think there was a modem for it, but it was pretty primitive by today's standards. I owned a computer, I guess, up until high school, and then did not own one until I was a graduate in graduate school, believe it or not. So it's still a relatively recent thing for me, even though it's what I make my living from, is working on a computer like many people, and here I am teaching a course about it. Let me tell you about how I got into the profession I'm in. I went to college and did my 4-year degree at Buffalo State College in Buffalo, not UB, but Buffalo State, and I majored in history. And once I finished my degree there, I felt like, well, I like history a lot. What kind of professions can I get in where you're doing something that's sort of historical? Well, I liked books a lot, so I thought, why not be a librarian? But when I started researching what librarians do and learning about the profession, what I was hearing, well, is everything's going digital. You know, the era of the print book is going away, and it's going to be all digital. So I thought, well, I really like being around old things, and I like print materials. Mind you, this was like 1999, and I learned about the archival profession. I knew a little bit about it from my history degree, but not much. So off I started putting on applications for going to graduate school to get an MLS, and I wanted to study archives. So I got accepted here at University at Albany and enrolled in the program, and was in the archives and records management track. I don't know if it's still called that. So I took classes and realized, oh, well, there's not a lot of jobs taking care of print materials, or there's not as many, and the new era of electronic records was coming about. So as I was taking courses, I heard about this graduate assistantship in this research project called Inter Pares, and it's an acronym. It's kind of a funny acronym. It starts out with the word inter, basically international, and then the pares was international research on permanent authentic records and electronic systems. And basically it was a research project about how do we manage electronic information, documents, and how do we ensure that they're trustworthy and authentic. If for example, a company got records subpoenaed, how would a court of law know that these are authentic records or not? And it's just one example of many of the issues that were confronting the world of electronic records. So I became a graduate assistant in that project, working actually with Professor Eppard, and this was from roughly 2002, I guess, to 2006. I was a graduate assistant, and then I actually graduated from the program with my MLS, which would be the equivalent of an MSIS now in today's vernacular. Got my degree, and then became the project coordinator for that project. So that was my first job, really just working on a grant-funded project Did that for 3 years and got a lot of great experience. Wasn't really doing archival work. I was more facilitating research about it, but still learned a lot nonetheless. I did that for 3 years. And then once the project ended, I could kind of see the writing on the wall, because any soft-funded project is going to eventually come to an end, and it did. So my first job, I took a little bit of a sidestep. It was not really a archival position. It was a position at an academic library running a course management system, and that was at Albany Medical College. And I did that for a year, and basically what I was running was a open source version of what Blackboard is, and that's what we'll be using in part for the class. But this open source course management system is called Sakai. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe not, but it's probably the second most used course management system that's open source. It's really neat, and one of the things I learned in that job is I sort of put my archives hat away for a while, but I did get to learn about digital systems and running them and managing them, and so it was a great experience. But when the position that I have now opened up, I applied for it because it was in an archives and it was doing archival work. And my position currently is curator of digital collections in the Emmy Gernander Special Collections and Archives Department here at UAlbany. And basically here, what I do is I coordinate a lot of digitization projects. I manage electronic records, born digital records. We have finding aids that are in digital format that I manage. We use a XML format called EAD to manage those finding aids. And we use XML for other work that we do. So throughout the course, anytime I have an opportunity to use a real business case for XML in the work I do, I often will bring it up, but I will talk about other use cases for XML in other professional sectors and disciplines. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell and how I got here. Again, I want to welcome you to the XML course. It's fully online, so everything will be delivered either via Blackboard or the course site, which you'll get to learn about in subsequent videos. As you can see, winter is all around me. You can probably see my breath. It is cold today, but by the time the course ends, we'll be seeing flowers and warmer weather, and that's something to look forward to. Again, welcome to IST 538 Fundamentals of XML.